LeBron James is one of the greatest players of all time, if not the greatest player of all time, depending on who you ask. I feel like we should be able to have a conversation on what is the future of this Lakers team and LeBron James specifically, because if you look at his status of the past 2 years and how many games he has been able to play, it is looking very questionable. LeBron James was in most MVP conversations at the beginning of the year, being the front runner besides Joel Embiid. But now with playing a total of 45 out of 72 games, he is definitely out of the conversation and is probably going to go to Nikola Jokic. But the Lakers are the 7th seed, and that is a huge issue, of course, because we all expected them to be champions again. They just won the championship last year. And with the season going downhill for this team and injuries being a problem all over the roster with players like Anthony Davis, LeBron James, and others, it is very questionable to see if they can actually make playoff run as a 7th seed, as we all thought they could at the beginning of the year. Of course, if you consider the fact that this Lakers team won the championship last year and they've improved all over the roster with adding players like Andre Drummond, Dennis Schroeder, and others, it is looking very promising for this team to be better. But then, like I said before, this team has been filled with roster issues all over and injuries, just players missing games for various reasons. And it's looking very questionable for this future. And I was expecting LeBron James to get his 5th ring, but now I don't know what's going to happen. First off, they have to go against the Phoenix Suns in the first round, which I feel like I still have the Lakers, but I could see the Phoenix Suns upsetting the Los Angeles Lakers as long as Chris Paul is able to stay healthy, because he did have that shoulder injury in game 1 and he is playing in game 2, which is happening right now at the moment, but I don't know the results that or which is going to be the result. But first off, they have to play the Phoenix Suns. And let's just say in the second round that they have to face Denver, because I'm assuming Denver is going to make it past the Blazers. That is a very good matchup, but I still have the Lakers winning, as I'm assuming the Denver Nuggets are going to make it past the Blazers. And then in the conference finals, they will have to play the Los Angeles Clippers, which, as long as the Clippers don't choke, I'm assuming that should be the matchup. And I just like that matchup a lot, because I really don't know who could win. Paul George can struggle again, and I'm assuming the Lakers would win. The Lakers could have health problems, which the Clippers have not been having too many issues with that. There's been a few instances where players have been having rest or just being out for various reasons, but there has not been too many injuries with this roster compared to the Lakers. And I'm not too confident to say that the Lakers can honestly beat the Clippers. Yes, if I had to pick one, it would be the Lakers, but am I too confident about that? I am not sure. Kawhi Leonard should be able to beat Kawhi Leonard. Paul George hopefully can be better in the playoffs, which he's been having a great season so far, but people have still been clowning him on Twitter for that Game 1 performance. That wasn't even that bad. I don't know why people keep doing this to Paul George, where, for example, Jimmy Butler played horrible in Game 1 and 2 versus the Bucks, but for some reason, when Paul George plays all right, it's not good enough. I don't know. But back to the Lakers. The Lakers should be able to have better playoff success with players like Andre Drummond, which I don't know how I truly feel about Andre Drummond. If I had to predict how he would help this team, there's been instances so far where it's been better with him being on the bench, because he could not bring as much as the Lakers team need versus the Suns matchup. And I can see in fourth quarters of very close games, I could see Andre Drummond sitting on the bench, honestly. And it's not that big of a deal because he is on a buyout deal. And if he doesn't perform well on this team, I'm assuming he will not be back with the Lakers. Assuming they could somehow make cap space for this team, I'm predicting he won't be back, because again, I don't see how they're actually going to make the space to re-sign him. But this is just a very interesting situation going on in Los Angeles. And if LeBron James gets hurt in the playoffs, I don't know what I can expect from this team, because honestly, if you have to talk about one of the more unexpected teams or how their season could come out in the playoffs, the Lakers should definitely be on the top of your list. And this team is definitely better from last year. They picked up good role players like Wesley Matthews, Marc Gasol, who you can question about, Ben McLemore, in other pieces, and they have picked up bigger pieces like Montrezl Harrell, who they got on a very small deal, Dennis Schroeder, Andre Drummond, who, like I said before, is still a question for me. I don't know what can I expect from this team, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens for the rest of the playoffs. And we just have to wait and see what they can do, if they can make a finals run like we all predicted them to. In the Western Conference, if they were on the other side of the bracket, you could make honest predictions that this team could be eliminated by these other teams like Utah, like the Clippers, like Dallas. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens in the rest of these playoffs. And let's say they make the finals and they have to face either a team like Philly, either a team like Brooklyn, either a team like Milwaukee. Can they beat that team? Because honestly, if I had to rank the order, I believe that who will actually make the finals in the East, I would have to say Brooklyn, Milwaukee, and Philly. Even though Philly is the first seed, I don't know how it's going to translate in the playoffs. They did almost make it to the Eastern Conference Finals in 2019, but then Kawhi Leonard had to ruin their season. But again, I feel like the Milwaukee Bucks or Brooklyn Nets have a better chance of beating the Los Angeles Lakers in the finals. But yeah, we just have to wait and see what eventually happens with this Los Angeles Lakers team and see how far they can actually make in the playoffs. But I would not be surprised if they were upsetted by any team that has to come through them. But yeah, with that being said, that will be the end of today's video, and I always thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys like this video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and just leave a comment down. How do you think the rest of this season is going to go for the Los Angeles Lakers? I am very interested to see what you guys have to say about this team. But yeah, with that being said, I love every single one of you. If you guys have not seen my previous video, don't forget to go check that out. And with that being said, I will see you guys on the next video. Peace.